Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Super Cool Radio. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited because I have an incredible guest joining me for this episode. He's a phenomenal guitarist, current member of the Alice Cooper Band, the one and only Ryan Roxie.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. I know we got quite a bit to discuss. Obviously, with everything you're doing, you're obviously very busy with everything. So I'm excited to catch up and chat with you.
Yeah, it's a busy time of the year at the beginning of the year. We're used to having a little bit more time off, but it's crazier. The older that Alice gets, the more he wants to tour earlier and end late. So look, I'm happy as hell just to get out there and get on stage. So I'm already in rehearsals. I'm here in the studio right now preparing for not one, but two Alice Cooper shows that are going to happen in 2026. There's one with Criss Angel, which is a completely different look and set list than the one that he does, which is Alice's Attic. And we sort of unveiled Alice's Attic at the end of last year when we were on tour with Judas Priest. But this year, pretty much people will get to see the entire show and expanded version of it. And then we get to hit it in Europe as well. So, yeah, it's busy.
Oh, definitely. And well, so kind of with that, so with the Criss Angel show versus like the normal, kind of more Alice Cooper show, like how big of a difference is like to prepare for like one show or the other?
Quite substantial, to be honest with you, Matthew, because one involves illusions and being right, on block, on point with every bit musically, because the music has to coincide with the illusion or, something doesn't work. Now with the Alice Cooper show, we're pretty much on point as well because Alice likes to run a tight ship. He likes the lights and he likes the endings and he likes all this stuff to be really cohesive. But at the end of the day, we're a rock and roll band. So there's a little bit of room for, mess this up. We're going to jam a little bit more here or there. So it's a bit more rock and roll in that sense. So it is two different mind states that we're going into it. But hopefully the end result is going to be entertaining whichever way we do it.
Well, I'm definitely very excited to see, with, both sets, how everything goes. But I'm curious for you. So I've heard that, Alice has been changing up the set, including some different songs. Can you give any hints of like what the set will look like for these upcoming tours?
I really can't, only because I signed an NDA for one, and for two. No, but it's going to come out, certain things, certain songs. But I will tell you this. There are certain songs that Alice has never played live that we'll be doing in next year's shows. So that'll be pretty interesting. And there'll be some ballads that you haven't heard in a long time. Of course, Only Women Bleed is probably one of the big staple ballads that we do in the show. And for people that saw the show last year with Alice's Attic, yes, there is going to be Only Women Bleed, but there's a couple other special twists and turns of how women bleed. Because when you're dealing with Criss Angel, there's a lot of ways women can bleed, apparently, or anybody can bleed in that sense.
Very, very true, especially with Criss Angel. He can turn, any kind of object into a illusion.
That's true, but Alice himself has made many a band member bleed over the years as well. You got to always be aware where you are on stage, because there is a wild man wielding a sword trying to pop balloons when you least expect it. Don't get in his way. That's my only advice to anybody that would ever jump into this situation. But right now we're pretty secure with our situation. We're happy with the band, and it's been the same band since I guess 2015, so going over 10 years, which is pretty exciting for us. And I know there's been a lot of changes before that time in my time, but this has been the most consistent run. And we're all excited for Nita and her pregnancy. So we're waiting to see how that all pans out as well. So this band, something about it, the fans seem to like. They like the 3-guitar lineup. Obviously, Alice is in front and center doing his thing, and the rock solid rhythm section of Glenn and Chuck. We try to be as much of a machine as possible, but as you know, it's a greasy machine, it's a sleazy machine, but it's still a machine at the end of the day.
Oh, definitely. And I've seen, quite a few Alice Cooper shows, and it's been the same line except for the first show is Oriente on guitar.
That's when I first joined up. Yeah, we had Oriente as the guitarist, and throughout those years, there's been a couple shows here and there. There's been some shows that Tommy and I did by ourselves. I think Tommy came down with COVID at one point, so Nita and I just did them. And we've handled it as a 2 guitar player band, but Alice really likes the 3 guitar player lineup. I do too. We get the best of all worlds because everybody gets to shine at what they do. Nita's shreds. I sort of lay those classic rock legato stuff down, and we kind of both do a lot of harmonies together. And Tommy gets his soloing in as well. I mean, I got to say that Tommy, when he first joined the band, he was a bassist previously, but you'd never ever think that because he's probably at this point one of the more accomplished guitar players that I've ever played with, and that's because he works his ass off doing it. So whenever I'm in the dressing room and I'm putting on eye makeup, he's practicing the songs. So I'm really good at putting on eye makeup. He's really good at practicing the songs. So he inspires me to get up there and rehearse with him. And that's why we share a dressing room and we're running through the set pretty much every night before showtime.
Oh yeah, you have to have that dynamic, with that of, I'm eyeliner to practicing songs, it all works out.
They're both skills. They are both skills.
But yeah, I believe the last time I saw it was a two guitar lineup, you and Tommy. I believe that was in, I want to say 2024. It was a few shows where Nita Strauss was not there, and Chuck actually did a bass solo instead of Nita's guitar solo, and I actually really enjoyed it.
Oh, he loved it so much. He wants to bring it back. He brings it back every single tour. I think he brings it back. How about that time we did that bass? I thought it was great. I thought it sounded great. And, you got to let the beast out of the cage once in a while. So he did it. He really shined on that bass solo. I remember in particular.
Oh, definitely. First time that I saw, Alice Cooper show with like a bass solo like that. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
People know how much I love bass. People know. I guess if you know, you know.
For sure. But I do want to talk about a few things and then obviously talk about your own solo work as well. But I'm curious for you, do you have a favorite Alice Cooper song to perform live?
I have over the years really loved playing those classic riffs that the original band wrote because it gets such a reaction in people's eyes, and we're close enough to play for them. You see them reliving their youth, their first graduation at school's out, or maybe, their important monumental 18th birthday when we play 18 or something like that. It's just, you see that emotion, and to play those opening riffs, whether it's Nice Guy or Muscle of Love or School's Out, especially Poison, those are all like classic riffs that I really tip my hat off to the previous bands that wrote them, and those are usually my favorite songs to play just because of the audience emotion. But truth be told, it's always some of the newer songs that we put into a set that seems very challenging. A song like The World Needs Guts, or even something as crazy and a little bit out of my wheelhouse as like Roses on White Lace. Nita was loving, she was salivating to play that song. And I was like, wait, maybe this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I loved it as well once we got it together. So it's always something that Alice maybe hasn't done in a few years that seems challenging the first few times when we play it on stage, but then once you get it in rhythm, you really love playing it. Look forward to it. There's a song in the new show. I guess I am. If you haven't seen the us on tour with Judas Priest, put your earmuffs on. But there's a song called "Dangerous Tonight" that Alice has never played in the set before this year, and it was great to play it. And at first I was like, is this song going to work? Is it going to work live? Alice sold it 100%, and now it's one of my favorite songs to play. Plus, I get to do a little nod to the great Randy Rhoads in the solo part there. So hopefully people will catch that. Now that I've said it, maybe more people will catch it.
Oh, I hope so. But I'm so kind of curious. So talking about like guitar solos, so I'm curious for you, like when you approach a guitar solo in a song, do you kind of go like how you feel, or do you have it planned out ahead of time? Like, how do you approach it?
I think and I don't know where I got it from. I know it was probably reading from an interview, and it might have been Brian May. It might have been, guitar players that I really look up to. I look up to Steve Stevens a lot. I think he's a great player. Neil Giraldo from the Pat Benatar Band, Elliot Easton from the Cars. And then like the classics like Randy Rhoads and Edward Van Halen, of course. But it might have been somewhere I read was that you got to treat the guitar solo like it's its own song. And you want that little story within that song to help out the entire thing. So if I can grab a little bit of the melody without completely ripping it off that was either in the chorus or the verse, like just a little hint of like part of what the song is doing, and then write a story around that, beginning, middle, and end, then I feel like I've written a pretty good solo. There's a few solos that I've written on Alice Cooper albums that I'm really proud of, and I did have that sort of storytelling thing, and I think one of them was on the Alice Cooper album called Brutal Planet, or it was either Dragontown. It was Take It Like a Woman. And the hardcores are going to go, how did you not know? It was one of those albums. But those albums they were like came in a double pack. Like, Brutal Planet and Dragontown were sort of like one sort of genre for me. And that song, Take It Like a Woman, I was really happy with that solo, the way it turned out. And there's a few others over the years that I'm been very proud of.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, the Dragontown, which actually I have a copy of it right here with me, with it.
Is that on the playlist? Is it Take It Like a Woman, or would that have been Brutal Planet? I think it was Brutal Planet. That would be my guess. Let's
see. Every Woman Has a Name is on Dragontown, so I believe Brutal Planet will be Take It Like a Woman.
There you go.
So yeah, but so kind of with like writing and recording. So how is it like working with like Alice Cooper like in the studio?
It's very, very chill. A lot more chill than what you would think. It's like some days we come in there, and for instance, this last album that we wrote, Road, it really involved the band, and the band was all set up in their own little worlds. So I had a little guitar world over here surrounded by a bunch of amps. Glenn was in the room with us with his drums, and Bob Ezrin, the producer, he really wanted that band feeling, so for all of us to come into the room. And even Alice, even though he was singing vocals, he was right outside the room, so there wouldn't get too much vocal bleed, music bleed in his vocal mic. But we recorded it as a live band, and then we did our overdubs on top of that. But the whole idea was, it was very much like, come in, who has a good riff? How can we build around that riff as a band? Are there any changes that we need? And what does that music sort of like, how does that inspire Alice to write the lyrics? Because he comes in with an idea of like, okay, I have an idea about writing a song like this, but he doesn't. But then that's where the genius of Alice Cooper and his lyrics come in, is that he'll break it down, and he'll just really listen to the music and then come up with words. Or sometimes it's vice versa. He'll come in with a song title, and then we'll hopefully have a riff that sort of fits with what he's thinking. And it's never really that. It's never really like not friendly vibe. And I know some people like to record under a lot of stress and stuff, but no, whenever I've recorded with Alice, it's always been chill and a really fun experience. Some of my best memories are writing the album, The Eyes of Alice Cooper, and the album that came after that, which was Dirty Diamonds, because, we literally wrote it and recorded it in a house talk about being a garage band. We were a living room band, and the drums were set up in the living room. I was in a bedroom with my guitars, but the chords came out, and Alice was on the couch in the TV room, and we would sit there and, okay, I'm going to write a song about a truck driver who likes to wear a dress. But he's not gay, but he enjoys wearing a dress. But do you have any riffs for that, Ryan? Like, okay, I'm going to call it Jessie Jane, the Ballad of Jessie Jane. Okay, we got that. And so that's where, sort of ideas like that would come in. And we kind of scratch our head at first, but then it ended up becoming a cool song.
Kind of wrapping up the Alice Cooper section, I'm curious for you, what is your favorite Alice Cooper album that you had the opportunity to work on?
Wow, we just talked about that. Yeah. The Eyes of Alice Cooper, I think, was one of the coolest experiences I had. Obviously, the first album that I ever played on with Alice was pretty exciting because it was the first time I ever played on stage with Alice. It's a live album called Fistful of Alice. And we were down in Cabo San Lucas at Cabo Wabo at, Eddie Van Halen. And I think the Van Halen brothers and Sammy Hagar owned it together at one point. But we were down there. We had first gig I've ever played. I just had gotten the audition. I got chosen to be in the band. Myself and Reb Beach were the guitar players for that. We all went down, started chilling and hanging out at the club. And all of a sudden, all this like recording equipment comes in. I mean, we knew it was going to be recorded, but I didn't know to what magnitude this show was going to be, especially being my first show. And then it ends up being that it's not just being recorded for a live album. It's being filmed for VH1. And again, my very first show with Alice on stage, we jammed together. I jammed with him at the audition, and we had some rehearsals on stage. But, the very first time really in front of a crowd, it's recorded, it's videotape, it's, there's booms everywhere. Slash is there, Rob Zombie's there, Sammy Hagar's there, and they're all coming up guesting, and it was great. It ended up, but it was really flying by the seat of your pants. So that was a cool experience as far as a live thing going. But then once the band had been together for a while, I had been together with Alice with a couple lineup changes. We had a lineup for Eyes of Alice Cooper where it was myself, Eric Dover on guitar, who I, always give amazing credit to. Such a talent, great voice, great songwriter, great guitar player. I can't say what he does best. Great performer because he does everything at such a high level, inspired me every single night. So Eric and I on guitar, Chuck on bass. He had just gotten in. He was real young, hungry, ready, raring to go. And Eric Singer, the old dog up on the hill, Mr. Reliable on the drums as the core band. And then Alice in a really passionate frame of mind. We just went into the studio right at Mate's rehearsal studios. There was an actual recording studio right across the way from that. And we recorded that album with a lot of attitude, some anger. Like, the situation that had happened is that the band that the record company, I guess, had wanted to use, they didn't want to give, Alice wanted the touring band to have a shot at recording this album, which I thought was very noble of them. And the record label at that point said, no, we want to use this other band. We want to use other musicians. And Alice was really, he was really adamant about doing it. So, that was really cool to have your boss stand up to the band. And I think that gave us a little bit of an attitude like, okay, well, now we've really got to prove ourselves and make this album kick ass. And I think The Eyes of Alice Cooper is a kick ass album. I'm happy for a lot of people that it's their first introduction, a lot of the younger people, their first introduction into the Alice Cooper band. As great as the original band is, and we would be nowhere without those original band mega iconic hits. I'm happy that a younger audience was able to see Eyes of Alice Cooper and then grow up with us over the years.
Well, for sure. And I think that album is kind of underrated and overlooked sometimes. Like if people talk about Alice Cooper, they talk about like the original, band with the early years. They talk about like Hey Stupid or Trash. And like, I think Isaac Alice Cooper kind of gets overlooked sometimes.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you noticing that. I kind of feel, but at the end of the day, the hardcore fans, like I said, that was their introduction, and they saw a really new twist on an old thing. It was, we came out with an attitude, and I think we even had a tour called the Bare Bones Tour, where Alice really scaled down the theatrics. He's always going to have some certain amount of theatrics in his show, but we really dialed it back and just wanted the band and Alice to speak for, in the songs on the album, to speak for itself. And I'm happy he made that decision, because I think those couple tours that we did, there was a couple great lineups in there. Tommy Clefettis was on the drums at one point, just killing it. Damon Johnson came in at one point. And, a lot of great musicians over the years have gone through the Alice Cooper ranks. And I'm happy to say that I've been able to play with so many of these, killer guitar players and musicians themselves.
So many great musicians, just killer lineups with, no matter who Alice Cooper was with. I mean, it was always just a solid and phenomenal band.
I'm just curious, you as a fan, do you have a favorite lineup of the Alice Cooper band?
I mean, I really like the current one because I've seen that live the most, but also I really liked Oriante on guitar as well. She's another phenomenal guitarist.
Great guitar player, no doubt.
Oh yeah. And so that was like my first time seeing Alice Cooper live was, I don't remember, it was 2011, I want to say, or 2012, around that era. So I don't know what tour exactly that was.
Well, that'll dictate if I was in the band or not, because I got in the band in 2012, and Steve Hunter, who was like one of part of my great, if you're talking about great Alice Cooper guitar duos, Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter were two of the best and wrote, some of the best songs that contributed to the Alice Cooper legacy. But Steve was playing guitar in 2011. I took over in 2012. So it was kind of a little bit of a passing of the guard. And I always appreciate Steve for sort of giving me that sort of passing of the torch.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who all was there. It was a time where Alice Cooper started doing a few covers, like right before Hollywood Vampires.
Oh yeah, Raise the Dead. That was definitely with me in it, because we lived all those things with the tombstones. And
yes,
Raise the Dead. Yeah. So you've been around. I appreciate you coming to all those shows all those years ago, and then like still wanting to talk to us.
Of course. All right. Well, last Alice Cooper question, because I'm very curious, because we were talking about the tombstones and the stage sets. Like, what has been like the coolest or most unique or your personal favorite Alice Cooper stage set?
Wow. I mean, I like anything that's new and sort of innovative. And I think there's been a lot of sets. I mean, there's some that have been throwback, like the Rocket, the Magic Castle, or the Alice Cooper Creepy Castle, or whatever you wanted to call it. What's that place where you go, you eat at nights, the nights come out and they have duels in the beginning.
Oh, Medieval Times.
Medieval Times. I call it the Medieval Times set with the castle. I thought that was cool because it was a bit of a throwback to old school rock and roll. But this new set that we have is just a huge screen. It's set up to be in Alice's attic, because that's the name of the tour, Alice's Attic. And I really enjoy the set pieces that are on that as well. And plus having these big screens that you can do it, because we never toured with screens up until recently. Alice is very old school in that sense, where he likes the band. He wants people to look at the band, not look at the TV screens. But, at some point, everybody realizes that, okay, if you're way back in at the upper decks, it's easier to see those screens, and you get more out of the shows and bring people in. That's why every year we play an array of different venues, and the set has to, the set pieces have to be able to fit into stadiums, arenas, and theaters. It has to be able to be scalable. But if you're going to ask me my favorite set and set pieces that we have, it would have to be Brutal Planet, I would think, because Brutal Planet was just so dystopian, apocalyptic. It had like lighting trusses that were like kind of were diagonal, and then they even change and go down. I think we had a half of a blown up car on stage, and it was like a legit car. We had like busted ass TVs that would just display weird shit on them, and they were real pieces of like it wasn't all just foam and just rubber and didn't weigh anything. It was a real legit car that was set up every night where Calico could go in and out through, and we had this big electric gas chamber in there. And so, I mean, that set, probably the Brutal Planet set, if you go back and look at old YouTube videos or Brutally Live, that was a cool set. I enjoyed it.
For sure. I have that on DVD, so I definitely.
I think we called ourselves Space Cops. That was our role in that. We were like Alice Cooper and the Space Cops for no other reason, because we just thought we were kind of like all stepped out of like maybe a Mel Gibson, Thunderdome type of movie and stuff.
Oh yeah, it definitely looked like that. That's also a solid title for like a movie or a comic book, by the way.
What is?
Alice Cooper and the Space Cops.
Yeah. Okay. Here I am thinking, okay, man, Road Warrior? I think that's been done. But no, yes. Space Cops it hasn't been done yet.
Before we close this out, I do want to highlight, so you have your latest single, which is Fight Another Day, out, actually features a former guest of the podcast as well, Brijitte West.
Oh, right. You're wrong. Great. She killed it. She killed it on the song, man. Go check it out. If you have any problem finding me on YouTube, just go to ryanroxie.com. Yeah, the video is, I'm really happy. Erwin Longeray, the guy that has directed both of my last two videos, Better Than You and Fight Another Day, he's done a great job. He wanted to one-up himself from Better Than You. So he said, well, how do you feel about 8-bit video games? I'm like, 8-bit video games? This is great timing. There's my wife bringing me a cocktail. Thank you very much, baby. Appreciate it. So thank you, babe. So he said, how do you feel about games like Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong and all that stuff? And I said, not similar to the hat you were wearing, by the way, just so you know, the avatar of those games. You could be very 8-bit at this point.
Definitely.
But he goes, I've made an avatar of you, and we're going to construct a video game where it's your goal to get from backstage onto the stage without getting caught by the Big Ragu security guards. And if you know the Big Ragu, he's our tour manager. And so the tour manager's Big Ragu, Caesar, has a security meeting every night before the show. And I see him with these big guys. So he actually made it so that these Big Ragu security guys are chasing me throughout the video, and I have to get to the stage. And that's the actual, that's sort of the concept of the game and the video. But interspliced in there are great shots of Brijitte, because she really helped out on the chorus and did that very kind of cool background Stonesy vibe, and to even like emphasize the Stones sort of T-Rex vibe a bit more, we got Keith from the London Choir Boys, and I know he's playing with Guy Griffin now in Guy's new band as well, and so he was able to play these keyboards that very much gave me a I wouldn't say classic rock feel, but more of just a rock and roll, even sort of Black Crowsy type of vibe. And then Trent, who I used on the drums for Better Than You, he just came in and completely killed it again on the drums. And Robbie Miller, our producer in Canada, who helps me out when I do my solo shows, he mixed it just the way we wanted it. Matt Marzola mastered it, and it's out now. So hopefully you're able to check it out in your favorite streaming platform, or you're just going to check it out on YouTube right after this video.
Oh, definitely. I will also have a link for the music video in the description of this podcast. Please check it out. It's very fun, and it's just it's just like lighthearted. It's just fun to watch.
Cool. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of Easter eggs in it, kind of like Better Than You. There's a lot of little things that you kind of go, if you watch it a few times, you go, oh, that's what it is. It's a spinning guitar pick. Oh, okay. So then he goes under that elevator. Okay, that elevator is exactly like the live footage, because we found this place very quickly to film the live footage from when we were in Edinburgh, Scotland on tour this last year. And so he actually took a lot of the backgrounds from the real setting and put them into the video game as well. So yeah, I would definitely check it out. It'll help me out, and it'll help hopefully get the band out on some solo shows later on, either this year or next year for sure.
Any songs that anybody wants to hear right out of the gate? Wow. I wrote this song called When You See God. So here it goes. When you see God, tell him all the things you saw when you were doing his job. But it's not your place to say. It's not a place you want to be at anyway. You flew down from heaven, dropped into hell. When your soul is broken, it's so much easier to sell. But don't buy their reasons, asking a few your own questions, they don't get answered. What you gonna do when you see God?
If you want to find, because we had a great talk, and I've told some stories that I don't usually talk about, but I told a whole bunch of things, whole bunch of storytelling, and a whole bunch of songs, my songs, Alice Cooper songs, and a lot of questions answered from the audience at this Rocky's Rock and Roll Symphony, because we were on tour in Pittsburgh, and our good friend Paul Unger, who's been very helpful in promoting me even before I was in Alice Cooper, before I was in the Electric Angels, or right around the time I got into a band called Electric Angels. He's always been there. He had a buddy. They organized it. Rocky and him organized the first time a live studio audience was going to come into the studio, and they'd film it, because usually they just do it, with no audience. But we thought, hey man, it's a night off in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh fans are amongst the best. They've always been really supportive of Alice Cooper and myself and anything I've been ever been able to do. And so he packed the room with it. People had good questions, and I got to play a bunch of songs acoustically. So if you are still in the mood for more Ryan Roxie after this interview, go check out Rocky's Rock and Roll Symphony as well.
Oh yeah, I will also have that link in the description. And I did want to ask a quick question about it. So, like, how was it? Like, that was a very intimate, kind of interview and show with the live audience. So, like, overall, like, how was that experience? Kind of connecting. Obviously talking with Rocky and a live audience as well.
Yeah, I thought he handled it really well. I thought the questions that the people that came, supporters that came, were really insightful. They'd heard about, they'd wanted to ask some questions about certain songs for a long time. And I thought it was great to be able to tell the story behind the song, because it's not really always what you think. Maybe you hear a song and you think that the songwriter has a certain angle from where it came from, and it completely is different than what it was. So yeah, there's a lot of stories behind the song and how we got there to that point, and what it was like being in the studio, because you have to understand this interview took place somewhere in 2025, and I've got a bunch of music since 1995 that has been released over the years. So a bunch of different eras, a bunch of different Alice eras. And a bunch of different Ryan Roxie eras. So kind of covered them all in this sort of performance. So check it out if you have a chance.
Oh yeah, definitely. Very well done. And as I said, a link will be in the description. But Ryan, thank you so much for chatting with me here on Super Cool Radio.
You got it, Matthew. This has actually been super cool. I enjoy it. I think our hats are super cool together. You know, we should maybe write our own video game right there.
Yeah, I'm in.
I don't know that shirt. Is that Bad Nerves?
It is Bad Nerves. It is.
Oh, and there you go. All right. I thought I saw it working there on the bottom.
Yeah, the camera kind of cut it off a little bit, but they are. I've seen them live a few times, dude. They're gonna go places. They are awesome.
I love it. And I love the brick wall, the sort of like, you know, covered brick wall. I can tell it's not a what do you call it? It's not just a backdrop. It's a backdrop, but it's not a fake backdrop. See, this is not a backdrop either. This is my actual studio right now. So, but I know about it. You do what you got to do. You got to do the backgrounds. You do the backgrounds as well, whatever it takes.
Oh, yeah. For sure. But thank you so much for watching this episode of Super Cool Radio. For Ryan Roxie, I'm your host, Matthew Thomas, reminding you to stay frosty.